should talk less. Brother Carl, I think we should talk less because you've got, we're not starting until
Can I see that
6:30.
pen? All right.
Let's spend more time on the questions and answers. Let's talk less.
Oh yeah,
spend more
no,
time
this is
on
gonna
questions and
be.
Good evening, everyone.
This is where.
Yeah, but we're
I sincerely
already
appreciate all of you
voting.
patience. We will now begin our event with our Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And before we start this event, we would like to have Reverend Verona Matthews come up and say a quick prayer for us.
Will we stand for that? We will.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'll be actually reading a prayer for you, and it'll be taken out of my just published daily devotional, Reflection, Thoughts, and Prayers. And I do have some out front if you all are interested in purchasing one. But let us please pray. Father God, we are lifting up this country, its residents, and its leaders to you. We have strayed so far away from what has been laid out in your word. We have been so disobedient. Even though we study your word, we have not been ourselves. We have not seen ourselves in your word. Help us to realize that we must be steadfast, immovable. As 1 Corinthians 15:58 explains, so then, brothers and sisters, don't let anyone move you off the foundation of your faith. Always excel in the work you do for the Lord. You know that the hard work you do for the Lord is not pointless. Regardless of the circumstances we now live in, read God's word, study it, absorb it, follow it, and make it the focus of your life if we want this land to be healed. Pray without ceasing. In Jesus' name, amen.
And really quick, my throat is a little raspy, so I'll need everyone's help. And we're going to sing together, lift every voice. Just the first chorus, okay? Could you all please stand with me? Okay, I need everyone's help. You ready? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Bring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun of our day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. And for the introduction and to tell us about the event purpose, please give a round of applause for State Senator Bobby Powell.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening, especially on a Friday night. I want to thank Brother Carl for working with us, working diligently to put this event together, and each and every one of you for participating. What I believe tonight is set out to be is an opportunity for us to create dialogue between all of the elected officials here and some of the municipalities we work with. We got Lake Park in the house. We've got the town of Mangonia Park. We've got West Palm Beach here, Riviera Beach here. We've got our county commissioner, And we got two representatives or two members of the state legislature here. So we will create dialogue between the state, the county, and our municipalities to kind of talk about what we're doing. We also want to kind of hit on this month. This is the middle of Black History Month. So we want to talk about some of the importance of Black history. What we also know is that it was John Henrik Clarke who stated that history is a clock that people use to tell their historical and cultural time of day. It tells a people is what they use to find themselves on the map of human geography. It tells the people who they are, what they are, who they have been, and what they have been. But more importantly, it still tells the people who they must be and where they still must go. So this is an opportunity. We create dialogue amongst the different communities, what we do at the state level, what we do at the county level, and it's our chance to work together. What I believe also with what Brother Carl will hit on is how do we move forward? And we want to start tonight with the conversation, but also what we want to do is come up with some outcomes and what we want to see happen from this point forward. How do we get people involved? How do we get people to sit on different boards? How do we get people activated in our communities? Change begins with us. So that's one of the main purposes of tonight. So I thank you all for coming, and I want to have some dialogue with the members of the audience in terms of turning and continue to move in an upward and mobile fashion.
And I'm Brother Carl. I'm radio talk show host on several different stations here in Palm Beach County, particularly on 900 AM, the Talk of the Palm Beaches, and I do a Sunday morning broadcast. And I had for my guests Mr. Mike Bernard, Mr. Bobby Powell, and Mr. Al Jaquette. And we discovered as a result of our conversationing that it was unique for us to be, as gentlemen, sitting in a room and really fellowshipping with one another and really talking about the issues of politics inside of Palm Beach County. Now, I'm a community representative, not a politician, and being a community person, I understand that my community haven't had a real voice in the conversation. And as we continue to move toward all of these disparity studies, all of this equity talk that's going on, I thought it was very important that we bring the conversation to the rest of the community and find out who it is that is lining up with us. As we look at the idea of we're in the second home of the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, I believe it's very important for our community to come together and come up with some kind of real plan so that we can be either accepted or denied. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Brother Carl. And now we will introduce the panelists that will also be speaking on some of the issues in today. First up, we have State Senator Bobby Powell. He's coming, don't worry. Alongside State Senator Bobby Powell, State Representative Al Jaquette. And from our county, we have County Commissioner Mac Bernard. Our remaining panelists will remain seated in the audience until our discussion, for our open discussion later on in the portion of the event. But here we have City of Riviera Beach, Mayor Masters. City of Riviera Beach, Councilwoman Lynn Hubbard. City of Riviera Beach, Councilwoman Miller Anderson. And unfortunately, Councilman Davis and Councilman Davis Johnson could not be here with us today. I was so wrong. I'm sorry, Councilwoman. And here from West Palm Beach, Commissioner Mateo, and Commissioner Ryan. And also Commissioner Keith James. Also, we have Mayor Albury from Mangonia Park here. And if I left out any electeds, please stand so I can recognize you. I do apologize. You want to stand and recognize you?
That's Councilwoman Kim Glass Castro from the town of Lake Park.
I do apologize. And now we will jump right into our education portion with Brother Carl.
Well, to me, the conversation started with education because we understand that education is the cultivation of the human spirit and the human soul. And we here in the state of Florida, we've been wrangling with the idea of trying to bring proper environment and proper education to the state of Florida. And we have, as Palm Beach County, we've been identified as a team, and we've been leading in the past, trying to repair some of the damages that has been done to our children inside of Palm Beach County. And the 11 different groups that are subgroups that are located on the screen. Once upon a time here in Palm Beach County, we were only graduating 27% of our African-American children, our boys. And as a result of the shock report, we had 2 circles around Palm Beach County because of our failure. Now, I don't believe in miracles, and I believe that anybody that's going to help us is going to have to be well-trained, going to have to be well-learned. And we've discovered that the people that are responsible for the stewardship of our children are not prepared. So we're now moving into some different areas. And the school district, when the report came out, this was the formula that was formulated to help to move design a vehicle in order for our children to move forward. But the problem has been, when you got a business like the school district, you have different rules and regulations. And we have a community. So each one of these subcommittees have 2 chair people. And the school district has these 11 subcommittees, and the community has these 11 subcommittees. And we feel like the community responsibility is much, much, much greater than the school district. So we're trying to build some capacity inside of our children, inside of our community. Because this is, you wouldn't just give your child to anyone. And you can see the failure of education all across the country. And we here in Palm Beach County, we're pretty much proud of some of the activity of the school district and some of the activity of our community. We've been, and the purpose, when I was talking to the 3 gentlemen up front, I asked the question, did anybody know? Because we've been having problems with communication and information. There's only a core group of us that have this kind of knowledge, and this kind of knowledge needs to be shared with everyone. I'm the subcommittee chairperson for the Communication and Public Relations Committee, and my responsibility is to make this information known to every human being that's a resident of Palm Beach County. Now, many times when we talk about African-American children, people think that we're only talking about African-American children. But I beg to differ if we are going to make a paradigm shift. If, in fact, the black children or the children that are on the bottom, if we should do the necessary things in order to move them out of that position, then I believe others would have the same opportunity. Now, I passed out some different information that I know that many times we don't receive. I was surprised to find out that many of us didn't even know that the state of Florida had apologized for slavery. Many of us don't know that the superintendent of Palm Beach County has a task force specifically designed for African-American children. And in that design, there's some new information that you are not possessors of. And we're planning right now to go into the summer months, and we're going to have a lot of people getting ready to make a lot of money off of that word high risk and all of this foolishness that people are perpetuating failure. And what we're trying to do as a partnership, hopefully, that we might be able to bring the attention to the population of Palm Beach County, and we might be able to move this thing forward, because I know that if we can move Palm Beach County forward, then we're moving the United States forward. And I think we're in a unique position again because we have such an opportunity with President Trump being here and with him having the so-called appeal to have a real need to help us inside of the inner city. So I wanted to touch a little base with the educational piece and remind you of the task force. But there was a package that is located on the table that I always pass out. I do a lot of classes, and if you have students in an environment or parents or any kind of organization that is looking for some kind of information source, that's my responsibility to do those things and to make it possible that our children can be safe in Palm Beach County. And lastly, because I did bring my paperwork, it's over there, just shooting off the hip. But I do believe that I have enough, because I've been involved with this thing ever since Governor Lawton Chiles and Governor Doug Jameson was the the chairman of education, the first, well, he was the chairman of education for a short period of time. And we were able to pass into law the infusion of the African and African American curriculum into the public schools. And that's a lot of information. You know what I mean? I'll give you one example. All my life, I never knew that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 0 was African in origin. I didn't know that the ABCs was African in origin. But when I discovered that, then every word that I look at, every symbol that I see, I know that some kind of way I got some kind of connection to it because of my ancestors. And all I need to know now is to know myself and to know my ancestors, and I believe we can help to change the reality of what's going on inside of Palm Beach County. And for those of you in the clergy, Pastor Ronnie Felder from Jay's ministry, he's working feverishly inside of the city of Riviera Beach to try to start some activity inside of the church, because that seems to be the biggest and the most sacred place we as black people have. And we want to bring some new orientation into that area. And we got some things that we're going to be doing along with the church activity. So I know I can't get everything that I need to say in this time period, and I know that there are those of you who are not my family. There are some things that we're going to have to say as men and as women on our own, in another setting. But tonight, the politicians that are responsible for the tax dollars, I'm hoping that now with equity talk and with the disparity studies and everything else, we might now be able to generate some resources. Because, you know, it's a shame that I had to pass out, go around, borrow flyers and all of that kind of stuff. And we've been doing this for about 27 years here in Palm Beach County. And we're in one of the richest counties on this planet Earth. And we have some of the most fantastic people here. I don't think we've tapped into them yet. But I'm going to stop right there. And if there's any question, this is how I do inside of my conversation. And I believe every politician should be the same. I'm equipped because I'm compassionate, because I'm loving, I'm caring, and I'm really interested in the development of not only the education for African American children, but for the planet Earth. And if any question about relative to education, because I don't believe that we've been equipped, and I might be wrong, and so I always open it up in case there is someone in the room that has been doing some work. And as I span the room, many times I don't see people that attend school board meetings. I don't see people that attend meetings that are centered around really educational reform. And what I'm saying to you now with hopes that we can touch spirit tonight, and we can start looking at some of the serious things that are impacting life in Palm Beach County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brother Carl, for those insightful words. And I look forward to hearing more on your program and what you have to make sure that we can better our community.
Yeah, I forgot to give them the other radio station. I do 900 AM on Sunday mornings between 8 and 9, and then I do, I'm on 6 FM stations at from 4 to 5, Tuesdays and Thursday from 4 to 5. Check it out. I think it'd be very enlightening.
Very enlightened show. Many of the people in this room has been on a part of the show. But we're going to move forward and actually talk about the things that are actually going on in the Capitol. We have 2 of our legislators just making the time to get back, actually working hard to get back and forth to be a part of this community. So we're going to let State Senator Bobby Powell and Representative Jaquette talk about what's going on in the Capitol.
Okay, thank you so much. And to hit on what Brother Carl talked about earlier, I actually have filed a bill in the legislature that deals with making African American history. It's been a law that was passed, I think, back in 1994, but putting some strength and teeth behind it to make sure that kids who go to school in our high schools and middle school and elementary are receiving that lesson, that literature, that information with regard to African American history. I will tell you that there's a lot of things going on in Tallahassee, and as I indicated, the purpose of our meeting is to create dialogue between all of us elected officials at the local level, state level, and the county level. But I do want to recognize, before I get started, my staff that's in the building. In the back, I have Mr. Ben Durgan, one of my legislative assistants. Somewhere in here, I believe, is Miss Marion Dozier. Outside. She's outside checking people in. Absent from here today is Delano Allen, who was in Tallahassee when there's Miss Dozier.
Yes.
And I left Mr. Delano Allen in Tallahassee, so he can't be with us here today. I want to get my staff out of the way, and then we can kind of talk about some of the other things that are happening in Tallahassee.
Correct. So let's get the staff out of the way real quick. On my staff in Tallahassee for the Florida House District 88, we've got my legislative aide right here up front, Mr. Kesnel Theus. And then, of course, you know the moderator today, Suits for Seniors, a bright young man who's really doing quite a bit in this community. You know, we stole him from Senator Bobby Powell's office. Mr. Javante Edmonds is my district aide.
Okay, I was going to let Commissioner Bernard. Do you want to introduce yourself?
The commissioner's got his own time, his own.
Oh, okay.
We're going to share ours. He's got his own.
Well, to continue the dialogue, one of the biggest things that we have to work on this year in the legislature is the budget. The governor recently laid out his $83.5 billion budget, and in that budget, we see that his idea would be to sweep some trust funds, including the Housing Trust Fund, and create more incentives to bring businesses to the state of Florida, which will, at some point next year, he wants to give us another $600,000 tax cut. This $600,000 tax cut, many times when the governor comes up with it, it doesn't include tax cuts for some of the lower middle class people that are on the bottom of the rung. So we're working on that. There's going to be another cut with regards to, I guess we're putting more money into education, but according to him, it will be another $800,000 that you don't see, or $8 million that you don't see, because it'll be included on your tax bills as the millage rate is going up. So those are some of the things that we need to pay attention to. And what I want to do as we create this dialogue in the legislature, we're talking about medical marijuana right now. We're talking about health care in terms of managed care and long-term care. As we talk about education, yesterday I saw a bill where we're dealing with performance funding for state colleges and universities and continuing to streamline the process. And what's happening is the idea behind it is, we want to create world-class universities and state colleges and have our students be the best. But at some point, we're starting to streamline it so much that some of our students won't be able to get into many of the colleges that we have at the state level or the university level. So we always say that college is not for everybody, but when we start to tighten up the bottle so many of our students can't get in, it becomes not for everybody. There's this idea that we want to create the Bright Future Scholarship, make it 100% funded, but we've also closed out many of the students who could have participated as we increased the test scores for the ACT and the SAT, and many African American and Hispanic students aren't getting those ACT and SAT scores. Even though they're graduating and have high GPAs, those test scores are preventing them from being able to get these Bright Future scholarships. There's a lot of things that are going on in the Senate right now. I sit on the Health and Human Services Appropriations Subcommittee. I sit on the Transportation, Tourism, and Economic Development Appropriations Subcommittee, the Health Policy Committee, the Full Appropriations Committee, Judiciary, and Agriculture.
Thank you, Senator. There's a lot going on in Tallahassee right now. And as the senator pointed out, the governor proposed his budget. And I sit on Ways and Means. Ways and Means used to be called Finance and Tax, and that is the big committee that deals with all taxation within the state. What comes in, what goes out. And we reviewed the governor's budget, and I can tell you, the first line of his budget proposal basically said to cut taxes for Florida families and businesses. But he should have reversed it, because the taxes really are being cut for businesses, corporations, and then families. We calculated that 76% of his tax cuts went to corporations, corporate income tax, corporate rent tax. 76% of it, the sales tax on leasing, everything went, 76% of the cuts were for corporations, and only 24% we can identify possibly going to the working families. So there's a real disconnect right now in Tallahassee. I say this because I want us to find some more solutions. And the solutions don't always lie with your elected officials. That's why we're here tonight. I was talking earlier, letting you know that when you elect someone to go to Tallahassee, it's important to keep us honest. It's important for you to talk to us. It's important for you to educate us on what you see at home, within your business, and let us know what we should look out for. So it's very, very important. Not only do I sit on Ways and Means, I sit on Tourism and Transportation Appropriations. I sit on Gaming and Tourism Subcommittee. And in the Gaming Committee the other day, we heard a proposed bill, a Seminole Compact. If you don't know what that is, it's an agreement between the state and the Seminole Indians for their casinos. It gives them exclusive rights for certain games, slot machines and other things, while others cannot get those rights, but the Seminoles pay a certain amount to the state. Well, this new proposal that the speakers got guarantees a third of the money that's coming in is going to go to charter schools. Now, I don't have a problem with charter schools, but if you don't fully fund the public schools that our kids go to first, and the first thing you want to do is take a third of those dollars and sweep it away, just like the senator was talking about when the housing trust funds. I don't know why they call it a trust fund, because as an attorney, trust means something. That's what it's specifically supposed to go to, but every year they can tell you those funds are swept away and used for other things and not for affordable housing that it should be used for. You want to talk about the bills we run?
Yes,
all right.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some bills. Well, two of the most important bills that I'm running right now, or three of them. First of all is the minimum wage bill. I filed a bill to increase the minimum wage for our working families to $15 minimum. That was something that SCIU and a lot of the folks in the community fought for and continuing to fight for. I truly believe that when you have families who are working that can barely put food on their table, and you're giving corporate tax, I want to call it corporate welfare, to corporations, and yet the struggling families who are really the foundation of our economy, if they're not working, guess what? The economy is going to tank because they can't spend. And that's where really the engine of our economy is. And when people are out of work, what happens? Crime rates go up, right? And so it's truly important for us to incentivize. I don't believe in trickle down. We really have to feed the folks who are at the bottom, make sure they get what they need to get. So $15 minimum wage is a bill that I'm running, which I think is very important. I feel very strongly about. Body camera bill. The body camera bill in Delray Beach, we fought to make sure police officers now in Delray Beach wear body cameras, not only to protect the officers' lives and their reputation, because there are false accusations at times. We know a lot of great police officers, but also to protect the community, because not all officers are perfect. So by having the body cameras, we at least can see what that officer saw. Was he truly in fear for his life or not? Very, very important. I know the commissioner is working on something in Palm Beach County. I know Boynton Beach now just recently passed something to make sure that they have body cameras. But we want to include body cameras in all police departments, all sheriff's offices across the state of Florida. Last but not least, a restoration of felons' rights. I'm very, very proud of this one. Knocking on doors during the campaigns, you see folks who are really in a situation they don't want to be in. They paid their debt to society, they paid their time, and yet they cannot find employment, they cannot vote. I think that's unconstitutional. The right to vote is so important, and you're telling me someone who committed a crime that perhaps have nothing to do with voting, you're gonna take away that right from them. That's not right. And so we need to get back in the game by making sure the men and women who are in our communities have that right to vote, and I feel very, very strongly about that.
Thank you. I will say to echo what Representative Jaquette said, as it relates to voting, one of the bills that I filed this year deals with absentee voting. I filed a bill that allows for people to be able to turn in their ballot at the voting location. There are some people who are injured or elderly or disabled who may vote by absentee, but on election day cannot get to the poll to actually walk in and vote, or the lines may be so long they don't want to walk in or stand in line to vote. So if they still have their absentee ballot, and they can do this today where they can take it to the supervisor of elections office to drop it off, I think that we should be allowed to allow those people to bring their ballots to the voting site, to the polls, drop them off. If there's signatures on it, they know they voted, they can drop their ballot off. That way, we continue to increase turnout in our communities. One of the things that has consistently happened as you continue to knock down those who are eligible to vote by creating, if someone has a felony, they can't vote, they have to wait 5 years before they can even apply to have their rights restored at this point. And when I was working as an aide to the state representative back in 2010, there were people who had applied, and they had applied in 2007, 2005, and their cases weren't even heard or cleared yet. So if now we've said they have to wait 5 years, in some cases 7 to 9 years, to even apply, that means those people won't be able to vote for another 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years, with the hope that they never apply when that time to do so happens, and they can never participate and be an active part of society. What we've seen in the last few elections, and not just in Palm Beach County, but throughout the state, is that the number of people who have voted by mail has increased all over the state. What that means is more people are becoming active, and more people are learning about politics, and more people are seeing the alternatives to coming to the polls on election day. In my election alone, I think in the primary, due to early voting and vote by mail, it was over before it started on election day. We had more early votes and more votes by mail than the other gentleman had entirely. And I mean, I like to attribute part of that to me just being a better candidate. But working in our community to increase voter turnout, increasing the number of people who are coming out to see what we're doing, creating dialogue. Myself and Representative Jaquette, I left Tallahassee at 12:30 because I was at a press conference at Florida A&M for the BTNC, but I got on the road and came right here because I want a dialogue with us in the community. We go into session, we've got 1 week here, and then we go into legislative session. What that means is we're 6 hours away. Most people aren't watching what we do in session. You're not watching us vote on bills and argue on the floor, because if you are, that means you're waiting until like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning to watch us on the Sunshine Channel while everybody else is asleep. And usually if you start watching that, the legislature on the Sunshine Channel, within 30 minutes you will be asleep as well. So we're here to tell you some of the things that are happening, and we want to, as I said, create this dialogue. As I talk about some of the bills, one of the bills that I'm filing and that has moved through at least one committee has been the idea of direct file. And of course, I've talked about that bill, and it's been covered by FSU, and it's been covered by different newspapers around the state. It hasn't been covered here in Palm Beach County because it may not be an issue that's important to the media here, but it's important to those of us in this room, because direct file means that you take a child between the ages of 14 and 17 and you try that child as an adult in the adult prison system. Once you're tried as an adult, guess what? You're an adult forever. What also happens is these children between 14 and 17 lose the right to vote. How do you lose the right to something that you never even had? We've created a system where they lose the right to vote. They won't have the opportunity to participate in an education after high school if they finish high school. And then we've canceled them out of housing opportunities, because if these kids are involved in the criminal justice system, if their parent or guardian has them and they're involved in public housing, guess what? They either have to release them to the state or something else, or get rid of them or put them on somebody else, because they'll lose their housing. We're creating a system here in the state of Florida where it's almost set up all around for failure. And I'm telling you this because I see it every day, and it's a target. So that's a bill that we're moving. We've been moving it since I worked for the representative many, many years ago. But now it's time. We've started the conversation. It's moved through some committees. I'm continuing to push that, but we have to change the way we do business here in the state of Florida. As it relates to education as well, we have filed a bill where apprenticeships can count for, we talk about community service, giving our kids some opportunities to have on-the-job training so that when they do graduate from high school, they have an apprenticeship as part of their community service, so they have a skill set when they finish, and we can put them to work, and they're valuable. We create value in our kids and value in our institutions. So thank you. I've got like 16 or 17 bills filed right now, so I can't tell you. In the House, you only get a few, so I could remember every one of them.
We're not in the upper chamber.
And I think Ben is here and Delano is not. He might be in Tallahassee filing more bills. And I'm working on restoration of rights with Representative Jaquette, and I believe the body camera bill is also something that I'm carrying. But we have to push. It's a lot of work, and that's why we're here today, because we want you to tell us what you want us to do and how to get it done.
Above all, before we give it to the commissioner, I just wanted to address how important it is for us as your elected officials within our communities to work together. Too many times we've seen everyone doing their own thing, and that only hurts the people. That's why we're here tonight. You've got your county commissioner, your state senator, your state house rep, and you've got your city commissioners, your mayors, all in one room. This is how we take care of our community. This is the future of our community. We're gonna learn to work together more closely to solve the issues. Otherwise, we're just gonna be spinning our wheels and getting nowhere. So this is the model we wanna establish. We wanna make sure we're all on the same accord, understanding what's going on. We wanna make sure you have complete access to our offices. So before you leave here, make sure you get our phone numbers, our address, talk to our staff so you know how to get a hold of us. It's a new day. We have to make sure we take care of our community. When the senator was talking about the direct file issue, all I can think of is systemic disenfranchisement, right? It's just systemic. The way that they get into the community to our youth early on, take away their rights to vote before they even start voting. Then they classify someone with a big F as a felon, and then they can never vote. When that person can't vote, they've got a felony, they can't find a job. And guess what? We're underrepresented. That's why we have over 500,000 more registered Democrats in the state of Florida, and yet the entire legislature is more than 2/3 Republican. That's not right. So we have to be able to work together and solve these issues.
Well, these young guys, I used to work with them. My name is Mac Bernard. I am your county commissioner for District 7. District 7 starts in Lake Park. It covers most of Riviera Beach, and it covers 67% of West Palm Beach. And it goes out to the island, South Palm Beach, and then it goes into Lake Worth, Lantana, Boynton Beach, and Delray Beach. So I represent some of the richest people in Palm Beach County and some of the poorest people in Palm Beach County. So the issues that we're dealing with at the county, I would probably tell you the number one issue that we're dealing right now is waiting for a disparity study to come back. Now, the city of West Palm Beach, they're going through the process of their disparity study. The school board, they're going through the process of the disparity study. Our county commission is also in charge of the solid waste authority, and they're doing a disparity study. And so right now we're waiting for ours to come back. But we don't have to wait for the study to come back to tell you exactly what, as a new commissioner, I can tell you what I see. You know, less than 3% of the contracting of everything that goes on in the county is done by minorities, and that's unacceptable as a county. And so what are we going to do to improve, even if you don't have a disparity study, what can you do to improve the contracting relationships in the county? So we're really concerned about, okay, what's going to happen with the disparity study? And next is, all right, well, once the disparity study comes back, all right, we need the people who are in this room to help us to be able to get an ordinance passed. I know in West Palm Beach, they're going through it right now, where the people who are listening, they have to come out, so in that way you can give the commissioners and say your piece, so in that way we can increase the minority participation in the county. Another major issue that for me, I wish that I was a firefighter. Do you know that we have over 500 firefighters that works for the county that makes over $100,000 a year? So I have a lot of student loans, but for me as a county commissioner, learning that what I would like is we're working with the school district, as you mentioned, Brother Carl, working with the school district to establish an academy at Palm Beach Lakes High School. So in that way, the kids who attend Palm Beach Lakes High School, so in that way they can, in order for you to become a firefighter, first of all, you have to start as a cadet, and then you go to an academy, and then you go to the technical school at Palm Beach State College. And then if you complete all those three things, then you're gonna eventually become a firefighter if you meet all of the requirements. So a lot of our kids in Palm Beach County or in the minority community, we preach to tell the kids you need to become a lawyer, you need to become a doctor, you need to be an engineer. But there are other professions that we do have to preach, that we have to tell our kids. And I want people to become firefighters. I want people to become sheriff. And I want people to be police officers and even technical education. And that's something that I know that we need desperately in Palm Beach County. And I know even in the Glades, the West Tech, we definitely would love to get the funding from the state to open it back up because it's important. They got some money last year, but we still want to come back and get more technical training in Palm Beach County. The voters passed a sales tax this past November. And what does it mean for Palm Beach County? It's going to raise about over $2 billion in a 10-year period. Some of the municipalities they've already done, I think the city of West Palm Beach, they did a bond, if I'm correct, for their piece, so in that way they're supposed to get over $60 million, and I think they did a bond so in that way they can try to do more projects. But at the county, we're going to probably raise anywhere from $700 million to $800 million. And as a new commissioner, the sales tax right now is the next thing in terms of contracting opportunities. And I had a meeting with some of our staff members today regarding what are we going to do to get our minority contractors to get involved in the sales tax. Like for this year, in the budget for this year, we're supposed to have over $50 million that's going to be going out. That's going to be projects throughout the whole county. I think in our March meeting, we're going to talk about the different projects that are going to be coming up for this year, and then I think next year and so on, it's about $70 to $80 million a year that we're spending in terms of a new project. And what we're going to do is, I think it's in May, we're going to do a meeting where we're going to bring all of the different contractors and all of the different people who can probably do some work at the county to come and meet and to talk about all the different projects. And then what we want to do is actually for them to go back, and then 6 weeks later, we want to do another workshop where they're going to come back and say, you know what? We've looked at all the different projects, and these are the things that we believe that we can work on. And so what we want to do is to help them now to set it up in terms of what they think that they can do. And then we want to do a third workshop where now we want to do a matchmaker where we want to partner them up with some of the different contractors. If it's a prime where they need to do subcontracting, whatever it is, we want them to be able to partner up. So that's something that we really are working on. And also in the sales tax budget, last year when they were discussing the sales tax, the issue of body cameras came up, and they took it out of the sales tax dollars because I don't know why they took it out. But for me, I believe that body cameras is something that is really, really important to me and to Palm Beach County. And so we had our budget workshop the other day, and one of the questions that I was asking was, okay, when are we going to have body cameras for the sheriff office for Palm Beach County? I had a meeting with the sheriff, and he says he wants to have the body cameras. And so what I want to do is work with the sheriff to establish the criteria in terms of when are we going to have body cameras. And because of the fact that we can use some of the infrastructure sales tax dollars to include body cameras. So I want to make sure that we include body cameras in the sales tax dollars. Another major issue for me, and I believe that it should be for a lot of people, is affordable housing in Palm Beach County. So many people in Palm Beach County cannot afford to live what they're living. They cannot afford to pay rent. The rent is too high, and for them to buy a home, it is too high. And so what we're trying to do is, we believe that it is so important for us to get our housing situation in order. And so what we're going to do is, in April, we're going to do a workshop at the county to talk about the different housing situations that are taking place throughout Palm Beach County. And then in May, we're going to come back and do a summit, and then we're going to make proposals in terms of what we're going to do to increase housing. Now, I am a big proponent of creating more affordable housing in Palm Beach County, senior housing, family housing. I would love to work with the Palm Beach County Housing Authority to create an adult living facility, an ALF, that is owned by the Housing Authority, because we have so many people who are seniors who are living longer where we don't have an affordable housing for our seniors, like the people in an ALF situation. I want to create more homeless housing because I believe that the state of Florida, through Senator Powell's committee, and since you're the vice chair, this is a plug-in because we need some of those. He is the vice chair of the committee, and I know it's important for us in Palm Beach County to win one of these RFPs to create a homeless housing in Palm Beach County. So since we're going to have Palm Beach County Day coming up, which is Palm Beach County Day is when the different people in Palm Beach County, they go to Tallahassee the first day and the second day of session, which is, bless you, which is going to be on March 7th and March 8th. So we're all going to Tallahassee the first day of session so we can tell the people, the legislators, in terms of here's our demands, here's what we want from the state of Florida. And so affordable housing is top priority for us in Palm Beach County. And I know that we want to create more homeless housing, veteran housing, families. And so housing for families. And we believe that we have to get our housing situation right in Palm Beach County. And even there are people who are building housing if they're building a housing not project, but if they're building a housing complex in Palm Beach County, sometimes that there's a workforce housing requirement. And some of those developers, instead of building the workforce housing unit in that development, what they're doing is they're cashing out. And so they're not building it. So what I think that one of the proposals that we're going to submit is that we don't want them to be able to cash out. We want them to build the workforce housing in that development. So in that way, we create more workforce housing in Palm Beach County. So we really believe that we've got to get housing right. And so these are some of the things that we're working on. The disparity study, that's something that is top priority for me. Body cameras for Palm Beach County, for our sheriff department, and working with the sheriff to get body cameras. The infrastructure sales tax, since the people who are in this room are paying for the sales tax, what I want to make sure is that not that you're just going to get the jobs of working for the sales tax, but we want people to be contractors. We want people to be actually some of the companies who are doing the work. And so that's the reason why we're going to do these 3 workshops. So in that way we can get our small businesses to get involved and to get engaged, because we believe that this is something that's important. This is $2 billion, not just the county. You've got the school board portion and the city. So we need everybody's help to make sure that we get this right. So I don't want to be too long since we want to get everybody here. So we'll take questions later on.
Thank you, County Commissioner.
Hold on. Do you have a staff here?
Oh, do I have a staff here? Yes. I have Darren Romulus, who's on my staff. And is Michael in here?
Yes, he's outside.
Okay, Michael Carter, who's also on my staff, he's outside. And then we have Wilnita Emanuel, who's also on my staff, but she's at another event, so she couldn't attend tonight. So thank you very much for coming out. This is on a Friday night, and for everybody to be here.
But we're not done. We're not done just yet. Now I would like to welcome the rest of the city commissioners up to the panel. Can I have Mayor Masters? Commissioner Lynn Hubbard, Commissioner Kashamba Miller Anderson, and from West Palm Beach, Commissioner Paula Ryan, and Commissioner Shannon Materio.
Mayor Albury. Mayor Albury.
And I also would like to recognize Ezekiel Edmonds from the Black Educators Caucus here as well, in the back. Thank you for being here. And we also like to welcome Commissioner Keith James to the panel and Mayor Albury as well. Yes, sir. So I know the audience has a lot of questions that they want to ask the panelists, but we want to have open discussion to really just educate on certain topics and certain issues that are going on a local level. And we're going to leave it to our local officials and, of course, our state officials just to give some details into issues concerning the city, such as safety issues, affordable housing, and equity, and also voting rights. So we'll start. Mayor Masters, would you like to lead off the conversation?
I would. Mayors are always leaders, so we don't have a problem with that. First of all, I want to thank, I'm so used to calling them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but Bobby and Al and Mac, Senator, the Congressman, the Commissioner, didn't they do a great job? Aren't we proud of these three young men? We could do better than that. Aren't we proud of them? They represent us from Tallahassee here. And I also want to thank this brother Carl, who was one of the primary sponsors of this and organizers of this event. I told him you did an excellent job. And I want to thank the city of Riviera Beach for hosting and televising this event live, all in Riviera Beach and other cities in Palm Beach County, and of course on YouTube in a few hours. And this event will be all over the world. So let's give the city of Riviera Beach for hosting such a profound meeting.
Mayor Masters, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to let everyone know we do have a time limitation. We're going to speak about 3 minutes so we can make sure everyone gets a fair opportunity to get.
Well, I've
get
done
the
my.
word.
I've done
I'm
my
not just
three.
cutting you off, Mayor. I'm just it's for everybody speaking. I'm sorry.
I've been asked to speak briefly about public safety best practices. I took a trip to Philadelphia and to New Jersey to meet with Chuck Ramsey and the police chief of Philadelphia and Camden. What we came back to know came from that trip, knowing that the best practice, period, is 21st century policing, community policing, getting the police out the cars, walking the block, period. That's the best practice, and that's what's going on in these cities that have been able to reduce crime. We are getting ready to add 10 walking officers on the beat with our body cams we're proud to have in the city of Riviera Beach. And also we came back knowing that the three keys that work for us and will work for you to the whole answer is prevention, intervention, and treatment. Having said that, we have organized a midnight basketball league to get our young people off the streets. So at 9 p.m. right across the street, they will gather to play a basketball past midnight. And tonight, who would have ever thought that the police department would be playing Stony Brook? Stony Brook would be running from the police. Now they're playing with the police. Thank you very much. That's my 3 minutes.
Okay, and we'll just move along. Commissioner Hubbard, would you like to speak?
Are we sticking to public safety?
Whatever topic
In
you feel
particular?
the most interest in.
Well, I want to talk about economic development and
Yes, ma'am.
opportunity and equity in general. I think in order for us to decrease crime and to improve education, we're going to have opportunity, and we're going to have we might have the opportunity, but we need the tools to access those opportunities. One of the tools we need is dollars. So when we talk about spending money in our communities and the dollar turning around 4 times or being spent at least 4 times in the cities, especially in Riviera Beach, I think we have to focus on how can we have local opportunities for local contractors, local business professionals. The jobs go to the locals first. If they don't, for me, if they don't happen in Riviera Beach and that they couldn't be filled here, then we go throughout Palm Beach County. But I think that's the biggest problem that we have is opportunity for us to improve the quality of life economically for the children. So when parents are not so starved with making a living and trying to keep a roof over their children's head, they can also focus on making sure that that child is in school, reading to them, having a decent education provided for their kids. I think one of the gentlemen here, I don't forget, who put the $15 an hour wage bill. Representative Al Jaquette. That's important so that people don't have to have 2 or 3 jobs. And they said, well, we're letting the children grow up like weeds. There's nobody home with the kids. They're raising themselves. Parents with a decent wage can raise their children, watch their children, and steer them into the right direction as opposed to committing crimes of that thing. So I think economic empowerment is the most important thing. Well, I won't say the most important, but one of the very important things that we have to focus on.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good evening. I'm going to speak briefly along the lines of education, piggybacking off a little bit of what Brother Carl spoke about, as the mayor spoke about the public safety as well as the economic for Ms. Hubbard. I feel that the education component is extremely helpful when you're trying to build up your community. Making sure that the parents are equipped to be able to assist their children, especially with the new type of standards that are out there, is very, very difficult. You have kindergarten parents struggling to help their children with their homework. Times have changed quite a bit, and I think until as a community we're able to look for those deficiencies and be able to educate our community, the children, as well as the parents, we will continue to have the high crime rate. We'll continue to have low-paying jobs. But once we get the education component in place, we'll be able to improve upon those areas. And I think that we can all, benefit from whatever type of education component we put into place. And I'm trying not to go in very specific details, and many of you know about the Sunshine Law, but I will say that the city of Riviera Beach did put away some money to assist our Riviera Beach students, and that's something we'll have coming up very shortly. So I just ask that you stay tuned for that. So for us, the education component is extremely important for us, and we understand how it ties in with our crime rate. So I'll be happy to answer any questions when we get to the Q&A.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can we have Commissioner Mateo go ahead?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to reiterate what Mayor Masters said and thank everyone here in the city of Riviera Beach for putting this council together, and hope this isn't the last time, because this is how things change. This is how we move the needle. When we erase the lines between our cities, the boundaries, and we work together, because we clearly all have the same issues, and together we will get things done. Separately and alone, it just doesn't happen. It has to be the team. I want to talk a little bit about jobs. The disparity study is very important, but it's a very small piece of the puzzle. And the city of West Palm Beach is being challenged at the moment for a disparity study, and I suspect that will happen more as they start to come to fruition. And so you can't just stop there, because there is, even with the disparity study done and knowing what the disparity is, if we don't have people that are educated in a field to take those jobs, there is no way of being able to fill those positions. So yes, we would love to have our children go to college and grow up and be doctors and lawyers. However, when was the last time you hired a plumber or an electrician? These are very respectable trades that are not being filled any longer. We don't have trade schools. And because we don't have trade schools, we're not really letting our children know. This is an unbelievable opportunity. I recently had a meeting with Matthew Land, who is the Southeast Union Council. And we talked about how our cities should be working together to create these apprentice programs. I was so glad to hear the senator talk about this, because this is an opportunity. Do you know that a construction apprentice can make $19 an hour while they're getting 2,000 hours of education that is being paid for by the union? This is an opportunity for a young man or a young woman to learn a trade and take it to the point of even owning a business. So this affects everything. It affects crime, it affects education, it affects housing, it affects all of these things when we are able to give our students, our children, a direction to go, and not something that we've been thinking about in the past.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ryan.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you again, as everybody said, for coming out on a Friday night. It's pretty amazing to see, and it just says that that's how important your community is to you. And to piggyback on some of my fellow commissioners' comments, it is important that the cities work together with the county and come to the table to find solutions to problems that we all face. My background, my field of interest in the last 30 years has been in affordable housing. Very complicated subject. It seems that we just need to build more housing. It's very expensive. You've got neighborhoods that you need affordable housing, but people in the neighborhood don't want affordable housing. So you have a lot of challenges with the dollars that are needed, with the availability of the unit types that are important. And as Commissioner Mac Bernard said, they're going to have a workshop and a summit. But what I would recommend is that everybody in the community participate in this discussion, because housing is not just one type of housing. And he mentioned, senior housing. We talk about wanting to employ young people and have opportunities for them. Well, we have to have places for them to come and live and be a part of the community. A lot of our kids go off to college and they find that they can't really afford to make a living here in this community. And maybe if they could they afford a house? So we have a lot of challenges that each of us face, and working together, I think, and pulling our resources is what it's going to take. We can talk about safety, we can talk about education, we could talk about all of the problems that we're facing as a community, but it all comes together with you, as everybody has said. Come to these meetings, stand at the podium, tell your electeds what it is that it's important to you, and then show up and vote for those issues, and we'll begin to see some of the changes that I think we all want. So thank you again for tonight, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now we'll have Brother Evans.
Thank you very much. I'd like to echo the sentiments and welcome everybody. You're absolutely right. It is a Friday night, and for us to have a packed room, that's an excellent start to this conversation. Obviously, my expertise is education, and in terms of equity or access and equity, we've been, really beating the drum at the district. It's very important for you all to know, and this is why I'm here, and I'll be willing to take any questions that you have. It's very important that you know that education has really been reformed in Florida in reference to non-immigrant blacks and the school district. The Black Educators Caucus has taken an approach in partnering with the district to provide levels of equity and access through making sure we have programs that can reach the targets of our school system. Now, we have a lot of people talking about disparity studies. The district also has disparity studies. And some of the findings are very explosive, and I'll be willing to answer any questions that you have about them during the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Edmonds. And Commissioner
Chief James.
Thank you. First of all, thank the organizers of this tremendous community forum. And I hope this is just the beginning of a continued dialogue. It's important in today's political times that we be, as a community, as a people, proactive. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time that we have to keep our eye on the ball in all of our communities. Because there are a lot of opportunities out there, and if we're asleep at the switch, we're going to miss them. As Commissioner Bernard said, this 1 penny sales tax and all this money that's going to be spent on infrastructure is a tremendous opportunity for economic empowerment in our community. We have to stay attentive to what's going on. The City of West Palm Beach, as Commissioner Materio alluded to, has commissioned a disparity study, and we've gotten the results, and yes, it's been challenged legally, but we will fight that fight. We have to gear up with our own lawyers who are familiar with this area, and I think we're on very solid legal ground. But in summary, for all of these issues, whether it's public safety, whether it's education, whether it's economic opportunities, we have to be diligent. And I tell people that it is a shame that we as a community will turn out for the presidential election and vote, and that's great. But ladies and gentlemen, the real battle is at the local level. The real battle is at your cities, is at your county. You have to show up at meetings. You have to hold us as elected officials accountable, and you have to be aware of the decisions that are being made at the local level, because those have a direct impact on your quality of life. And I look forward to continued dialogue in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to come right back to actually Commissioner Tanya Davis-Johnson, who just joined us.
Good evening and welcome to the City of Riviera Beach. I want to thank our gracious organizers for putting this event together, and I look forward to the continued conversation. As we talk about what is important and how what we think we need to be doing as elected officials, I wear two hats, which is really interesting for me in that I serve on the City Council here, but I also serve as the director of the Office of Small Business Assistance. And to the Commissioner's point, as it related to opening the opportunities, we held at his request and with School Board Vice Chair Dr. Robinson on December the 3rd, one of the first events that we did in an effort to open the door of opportunity to the local small businesses. We held a certification fair where we waived the fees for the certification for all of the agencies, and individuals were provided an opportunity to come in and to register their businesses. So what I can tell you, as a result of that, we had 76 businesses that received waivers that will be coming through the Office of Small Business Assistance to certify to do the Palm Beach County business. And it was for all disciplines of business, be it construction, be it professional services, be it goods and services. So we're super excited about that. And then on this arm, one of the things that we think is important is to understand what some of the challenges and barriers have been for the local small businesses to participate in contracting opportunities here. So what I suggested that we do was invite them to a round table to talk about their issues, to talk about their concerns, and to see how we can create programs that are going to be beneficial to them and that will be inviting and encouraging for them. So we speak here in the City of Riviera Beach, we speak often about equity and wealth building and inclusion. And so we want to make sure that at every turn, we not only say that we want the jobs, but we want to make sure that our businesses are prepared and ready. And so I applaud and commend Commissioner Bernard for being so passionate about small businesses and utilization in Palm Beach County. So we will be working on all fronts, from a city side, from a county side, but I think that it will provide great opportunities for the residents of Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Mayor Albury to finish up.
Good evening, and again, thanks so much for this opportunity of being able to come and just speak on just a few things. A lot of things have been said here, and as it relates to just economic opportunity and education, I'll just speak briefly in those two things. One of the things that we've done in what I call the big little city of Mangonia Park is our see, we have someone there. All righty, all right. That's all right. Right. Yeah, some years ago, we understanding the importance of education and realizing that education is key to upward mobility, we put together programs, reading programs, and it thrilled my heart to be a participant in that, and that we would have more males that would participate. Quite oftentimes we look at our community and we say that we can just write off a segment of our population because of crime and various other things, economic depression that exists within communities. So understanding the education is key, we've now begun to move to change that, as our brother Carl stated, in terms of just shifting the paradigm, and we're trying to do that. We're proud to announce that we're working now with the county to establish a library. So what we've done now is finally got the council to understand that there has to be a new vision. How we go about empowering the community would be through economic opportunities. And along those lines, of course, one of the questions that I get asked very frequently, and probably someone in the audience now is saying, what are you going to be doing at the highlight site? We work continually with Mr. King regarding the sale of the property and potential suitors, developers. What we're doing now, we're working with a potential developer that would bring a project that would be cutting edge in terms of green, along the green economy, school, education, and business. But one of the things that I do when I sit down and I talk to potential developers, whether it's the 7-Eleven that you now see, is I always ask them, what is your intent as it relates to benefit to the town and its residents? There are some benefits that are accidental, and all of the elected officials up here will know that there are things that happen in terms of increasing your revenue. Your ad valorem may go up because the new complex went up. But when I always ask the question, and feel free to do this as well, now what is the intentional benefit that you're going to bring to the town? Specifically, if you're going to be coming and you're going to purchase a building, for instance, as an example, that currently have liens on it, whether it's in our industrial district or another district within the town, what are you going to do as it relates to employing individuals that live in the town or in Palm Beach County? Quite oftentimes we know that when a development comes in, there's already individuals already cited to bring from different areas of the country, and that's fine. But we want to make sure that we have a carve-out for individuals who live in the town and in Palm Beach County. So with that, what we will do, for instance, just as an example, if there's liens on a building that a new developer wants to come in and retrofit, we will tell the developer, we won't release the liens unless you agree to hire someone, and what we'll do is you allow that person to, you employ that person for the period of time that it would take for these liens to be exhausted. And that way, of course, what we have is a situation where, just place these, where someone within the community of Palm Beach County has an opportunity to prove themselves to the new owner of the business that they deserve to be there and to be employed. We also look at other things as well as it relates to potential development. Well, one of the things that we're endeavoring to do as well as it relates to the business center and education center that we are hoping will take place and come to fruition on the highlight site, again, it's another carve-out. And of course, Mangonia Park being as small as it is, we're looking at a certain portion of that by which we're going to have a sports complex. Those are my 3 minutes. Okay, my 3 minutes.
Mayor, finish up, Mayor. Please, fair. But please finish.
It's better good. No, I understand rules and so forth.
Thank you. We'll just let you come to the close.
Right. So in closing, and so we want to do that, and so again, just trying to get all of that done, and when it happens, and we're very hopeful that it's going to happen. There are some incentives that we've agreed to with the proposed developer, and we're going to be working with our county commission as well to see if there's some dollars that we can also assist in the development of it. We're talking over a $500 million project. And so, as we stated, it's going to be transitional, and we're looking forward to those things to happen. So if there's any questions as it relates to things that we're doing, let us know.
Thank you, Mayor. We certainly appreciate. And I want to thank the audience for being so patient, because we're going to move forward into our portion. We give you guys the opportunity to ask any question you have for our legislators. But I just want to recognize someone who just walked in the room, Dr. Deborah Robinson, one of our school board members. Can you please give her a round of applause? And I want to thank the legislators for taking the time to be here today. And now we'll open up to the audience. Does anyone have a question? We have a microphone right to your left. And
Mr. Edmonds, first, real quick, I also want a housekeeping issue. We also had other members from the city councils from West Palm Beach who could not be here but wanted to attend. Corey Nearing and Riviera Beach had Councilwoman Dawn Pardo. Her aide is actually here right now who wanted to make sure is her aide here? Can you stand up, please? Well, she spoke with me earlier and said she was going to be here, so I guess she's not here. But I just want to acknowledge that everybody knew, and this is, as we indicated earlier, this is just the beginning of the conversation, and we will continue this conversation. I also want to allow Mr. Edmonds to invite up Dr. Robinson.
As Senator Powell said, we're going to welcome up Dr. Robinson and hear what she has to say. And of course, she has 3 minutes as well.
Hey. Oh, good evening.
She got it.
It's not a big deal. Okay, thank you. So I don't have any prepared remarks. I didn't know I was going to speak. So let's say we are working hard at the school district of Palm Beach County. You may know that we have a relatively new superintendent, Dr. Avosa, who I must say is really walking the walk in terms of talking about equity and access, which is said all the time at the school district. I'm continuing to work to make those things reality. And as I told Dr. Avosa, it is because of the groundwork that I laid fighting for 16 years that he's able to walk in and be heard saying those words. And so I expect that we will move forward. We have a strategic plan, and one of the major planks is equity and access. We also are working, you may have heard, you guys talked about the superintendent's task force. So the superintendent's task force is actually of historic significance. It no longer actively exists. I am working with the superintendent to restructure it. So it will be an official advisory committee to the superintendent. We will move forward. My expectation is that since we have worked to have the recommendations from the old task force crosswalked into the strategic plan, many of those recommendations from the task force are part of the strategic plan for the school district. So now the question is, what do we do with, as they call it, Task Force 2.0? And it's my expectation that in the next iteration of the task force that we will focus more on connecting school district to community in this work. Because the fact of the matter is we cannot do it alone. I'm crystal clear about that. I have personally been working to organize some of the private pre-K centers in Riviera Beach. It is really unfortunate that not this August, but the previous 2 Augusts of the 4 elementary schools in Riviera Beach on the kindergarten readiness assessment, 2 of them had 0 children that were deemed ready for kindergarten. And so when you start off like that, it's an uphill battle. I can also tell you that I'm crystal clear about how difficult things are for administrators and teachers when you have a school that is like 90% students on free lunch. And not that there's anything wrong with the students, it's just oftentimes those students have fewer blessings than one would hope, right? And so I've coined the phrase, the heavy lift of concentrated poverty, right? In one school, actually in the city of Riviera Beach that I won't name, in meeting with administrative staff, they told me that they were unaware of, I don't follow rules, so I ain't paying no attention. So, I don't know what you're saying. But at one school, the administrative staff explained to me that they were not aware of one family that was as strong as one would hope in their school. And so we have to, and I hope that we will do this together, work on the social ills that impact our families and our students, right? I heard as I was walking in at Councilwoman Tanya Davis Johnson talking about, I had to get it together, talking about some of the work that we have done. And I also am part of a group called Unified that work with the county and the school district so that those referendum dollars will be used not only to repair schools in our community, not only to make sure that Black folks get contracts, but also that there's a true investment in our community unlike ever before. So you just take the mic from me because you got me going. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Okay, so and now we're going to take this time to have our audience members ask any question that they would like. And if you feel like you want to write a question to me, I'll more than likely say it for you. So.
And while he goes to her, I also want to acknowledge that myself and Representative Jaquette are working on, with Dr. Robinson, putting a request in the budget for the pre-K collaborative here in Palm Beach County to increase the number of students who are ready for kindergarten when they go to school, because that is a true challenge. And if they're not ready for kindergarten, they won't be ready for third grade, and we know what happens there, and then they won't be ready after that.
Correct. And just as a piece of information, just know that there are new rules this year in the Florida House, as Dr. Robinson knows. No longer can you slide something in the budget the way it used to be. It has to be filed as a bill. So just know that our office will be ready to help you with that, with the form early on. So next year, before the deadline is met, you will all know any appropriations our communities need. We will file that for you and fight hard for it. Thank you.
And last thing, as a role of housekeeping, we kind of want to make sure we kind of center the discussion on how we can all work together, state, county, local, community, and kind of center around that. Anything that may be on a agenda for West Palm Beach or agenda for Riviera Beach, let's try to stay off of that and kind of collaborate on what we can do as a community to move together. Thank you.
You sure? That's it?
Thank you.
Maybe.
History. I heard you mention that the bill was passed in 1994 for Black history or African American history, and that you was working on getting that implemented. Can you explain to me how, or I don't understand why it has not been implemented, but how are you going to, and how can we assist?
That portion, that bill is supposed to, thank you for your question. What's your name? Ms. Beverly. Thank you for your question. What I would say is the bill has been, the bill passed. It's a part of statute. It's part of the legislature. And we have an African American History Task Force that's headed up by former Senator Tony Hill. And in Palm Beach County, we're known as an exemplary county in terms of the implementation of this. However, when you talk about implementation, the idea that who's teaching the course has to be involved and has to be passionate and committed to it. So what we're looking at doing is we talk about African American history and the history of enslaved people in terms of the statute. We're changing that a little bit in this new bill to talk about African American history, African in the continent of Africa, talking about the contributions not just here in the United States, but contributions worldwide in terms of this this piece of legislation, in hopes that when we change this language, it's more of an impetus to make sure that people are working hard to discuss those things. And what we've seen is, in terms of changes, textbook companies in the past have tried to change history by saying that people from Africa came over to the United States to work, which we know is not true. But if the person telling you your history, I'm going down a path, you just have to be careful of who's telling the history, right? So making sure that when we put this in statute, put in legislation, that the history is not put there in a manner that can easily be glossed over. Tainted. Yeah.
Dr. Robinson would like the microphone. Dr. Robinson would also like to respond. We also just want to keep in mind, because we have so many questions, we want to keep our questions and responses down to 2 minutes, please.
Right. We was talking about a collaborative effort because I think that's why the center is on education at this point. We kind of rolled into it from the kids to education, and I think that's something that we all can agree is a major factor in the lack of the workforce that we need in order to move our county, cities, districts, and schools where they need to be. In reference to the Florida statute, and I'm not going to take all of the time. I know Doc wants to say something about it. We've been really working at this a long time, since 1994. The problem is, and I'm encouraged to hear that you are willing to submit bills. The problem is when this was made a statute, it was not funded, right? So that's the issue. And I think we've suffered through this unfunded mandate for like 22 years or something like that, 22, 23 years. And we have had traction. We've made traction, and we have everything set up in the district from the what is that, the matrix, all the way down to the task force, and they were doing good work. I'm sad to hear that the original task force is gone. I'm gonna keep my eye on Task Force 2.0. I actually was there when that was created, and that was kind of funny. But education has been reformed, and it's important for us to know that your presence during SAC committee is what creates the culture of the schools. By you not being present at SAC committees, you are subjecting your children to whatever experience that school is creatively able to come up with, and we know the disconnect between cultural, responsive, and relevant teaching and our community, and I'm speaking of the most disenfranchised community. We wrestled around a lot with the labeling, and I think we came up with one that fits us quite well, and we are now focusing on what's called non-immigrant blacks. And we believe that if we use African-centered lessons and activities, we can create equity-centered experiences and learning environments for all children, and that's what we're going to use to move our people forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. So, because, no, hush. Just listen to me. Okay, excuse me. I'm being too informal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so the part that I want to clarify is, so while the term non-immigrant black is being used, I want to be clear that at least I don't think, I'm not going to speak, hush now. I don't think Zeke is being divisive. I'm clear I'm not being divisive. So I have this thing in my head that we need to micro-target in terms of our approach, right? And so the issues that face African-American children are somewhat different than the issues that face, for example, Haitian-American children, and different than face say, Guatemalan children, and so forth. And if we're going to be honest and true and talk about equity, then we have to address each of those without asking people to become one like the other. Okay, so when Zeke first started talking about non-immigrant blacks at the school board meeting, it caused a little bit of tension, and so I just want to diffuse that if there was any tension going on here. But let me tell you, it is true there was an unfunded mandate, but let's be clear about the real reason it hasn't been infused, because Palm Beach County was the leader in terms of creating the African American curriculum, and we interpreted the law that we were supposed to infuse the contributions of Africans and African Americans in all subject areas. Thank you. And so we actually, through the work of Debbie Range and others, led the state in creating that curriculum. The real reason is, let's be clear, is that if we tell the entire truth, it will push against the white supremacy construct that not only is our nation built on, but our education system is built on, right? And so the system itself finds ways to push back. And I just actually fought at the school board meeting about the adoption of the social studies textbooks. So let me just say, I hope that every time we talk, we're going to talk about what we do next. And let me just ask you to please come to the school board meetings. I don't care if you don't speak. If you sit there with a notepad and look like you're taking notes, people going to pay attention and ask me, who's that black person now? Okay? I'm just saying. So because I need some backup.
Well,
I'm sure all y'all need backup.
Well, thank
Okay,
you.
I'm
We'll
sorry.
let you continue in a second. I will let our next audience member go.
How you doing? My name is Kenneth Wilson. I'm with my daughter here tonight. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to speak. My two-part question is how do we draw back the individuals that are going off to college to bring back for economic and social development? I'm meaning the children that are getting ready to go to college, they graduate, they come back and the jobs in the area are not feasible or accessible to them as far as in contracts with on the local level. For the state level, opportunities addressed not only with you gentlemen, but other state legislators. And on the city level, how are we going to provide a better opportunity for the children that's coming up in the system for things to be transparent? Because we're missing the main course of this, and the course is that some of us don't have that opportunity to communicate. We don't listen to the radio sometimes, and our kids don't listen to the radios, and our kids don't read the newspapers, but they are being left out of things like this. I would love to see more children here. My daughter actually tags along with me everywhere, so she actually sat up here and said that she doesn't understand. And so how do we as individuals, as parents, as leaders, provide a more transparent and open forum for children to understand, so that way they know to come back after college to work for our cities?
Just a reminder, we're only going to allow 2 responses for 2 minutes. We are approaching 8 o'clock, so we want to make sure we get everyone's question in. So whoever wanted to answer, please proceed. I do apologize.
Well, the mic was passed here, so I'll attempt to answer it. I can speak anecdotally, but let me just speak to, and I know your daughter is here. Some years back, I was sitting at the feet of Dr. Ivor Van Sertima, who wrote the book They Came Before Columbus and such. And I was riding back with my 2 kids, and they asked me this question: Why is it that we're always learning about Black history? And for me, there's always educational moments. So while we're riding back from Delray up to the house, I said, okay, when we get to the house, I'm going to teach them something. So we get to the house, and I sit both my daughter and my son down, and I said, now what we're going to do is we're going to develop a business. Okay, just follow along with them and just give me your minds for just a moment. All right, and so we started talking. I said, now, in order to get this business going, we need $3 million. Do you have $1 million? So I looked at my son. I said, no, don't have $1 million. Looked at my daughter. Do you have $1 million? No, okay, I tell you what, I'll put in the $3 million. They got excited, and we started building this business. We started talking. It was like we were building a real business. Right, and so because I know we only have a couple of minutes. So when we got to the end of the building of the business, understanding what we're going to be doing and such, I asked them a question. Now, we're going to have our first board meeting. We come to the board meeting. We sit down and we talk about plans where we're going to be going, the direction of the company and so forth. So let me ask each of you a question. So I looked at both of them and said, now when we come to this board meeting, do you feel like my equal? And my 13-year-old son looked at me and said, no. My 11-year-old daughter responded the same way, no, I don't feel like you're equal. And so I said, why not? Because we didn't put anything in. So it goes back to Dr. Robinson's point, and as well as Zeke's, that until we start teaching our kids that we put in a lot, historically we have put in a lot, until we have the self-awareness about who we are and what we've contributed to society, not just here in America, but from the very dawn of time that we've contributed, then I think we could break the reticence that exists in our homes. One of the things, that if I can borrow just another 30 seconds, in my old job before I retired, one of the things I used to do is go throughout all of the school system, Okeechobee, Palm Beach, and so forth counties, and I would look at IEPs. And I could take a look and had become so proficient that when I'm reading IEPs, because our agency would actually fund programs within the school districts, and I would be looking at the IEP and I would just place my hand over the name of the student. And while I'm reading it, and I'm looking to see whether the parent attended that IEP meeting, and there's nobody there, right? And I'm reading in terms of now they're deciding what they're going to be doing with our children, right? What curriculum they're going to be getting and such. And I would remove my hand, and when I place my hand over and I'm reading the IEP, once I finish reading, I say, this is an African American. I remove my hand and look at the African American. So what's my point? As a parent, I applaud you that your daughter's with you and that you take her everywhere you go and you're teaching her. That is the beginning of education. It starts at home, doing exactly what you're doing. That breaks this dam of reticence that exists within our community so that we can begin to lift our community.
Thank you. Commissioners, mayors, I just ask that y'all please respect the time again. We want to make sure everyone get their questions in.
Absolutely. With regards to your question about how do we bring or encourage our folks to come back and seek employment and to be very active, one of the things that we've discussed as a board is an internship, making sure that opportunities are available throughout city government. We think that that's very important because if they get that experience, having gone off to college or as they're in high school, coming in and doing whatever the task may be for the various departments, we believe that starts the interest in government. Additionally, what the board has also charged us with is the creation of a youth commission, and we think that is another avenue that will allow a better understanding of this kind of conversation and dialogue so that they can sit and create. They will have their own organization, so we're creating the bylaws. I've been tasked with that by the council, and I'm excited about that because this is now an opportunity for us to engage our youth and to have them set their own board meeting and have an opportunity to talk about the issues that are important to them, and they then report back to us, and we know the direction that we need to take in order to better serve the youth of our community.
Thank you, Commissioner. Who else has questions? Could you raise your hand for me? Wow. You get why we have a one limit time response now? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, perfect.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Higgins, and I'm a member of Bridges at Riviera Beach. I'm also a member of North End Consortium. Mr. Powell, yes. In one of our consortium meetings or agendas, we spoke about child care, and you said that during your campaign for election, you stated that you would try to do your best when it comes to affordable child care. We have a lot of kids that are going to, even though they receive vouchers for child care, the parents, but when they get to on their job doing their best, they get a little raise, 50 cents. One of our members did, and the child care, the voucher went up $100. So with her getting 50 cents and the voucher going up $100, that makes people, the working poor, that's trying to do their best, just not want to work, rather sit home and just collect whatever the system wants to give them. Is there anything that you can tell me so that I can go back and relate to my constituents? You?
Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for that piece of information. What I can tell you is that first, before I even get into the answer to the question, one thing is there should never be a disincentive for someone to want to do better, right? So just because somebody made another 50 cents and the voucher went up, that's a part of the system that disincentivizes people from trying to step up to the next level. So as we continue to build our strengths, maybe it's time that we have started the conversation as we talk about education, as we talk about different opportunities, getting people into jobs that will pay them enough so that they can pay for child care for their children. As it relates to child care, the state funding that's available, that's something that I can look at. Those are issues, but digging into the details, I would need to definitely talk to you and find out more about that situation. Usually if you call my office and let my staff know, we can kind of dive right in and fix some issues like that. But when those things happen, that's why we're having this town hall. We need to know, because if you don't know about it and it happens in a vacuum, then we can't do anything about it. So I'm glad that you let me know that information. And if you would not mind getting with either Mr. Kesnell Theus right there, Mr. Edmonds, or Ms. Dozier, or Ben Durgan from my office, Mr. Durgan from my office, who can then get your information and let us find out what's happening. So if there's a policy problem, we can fix it.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our next question. He has the mic. So, you have the mic. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Vincent Brown. This is for Commissioner Mack. I'm an electrical contractor. I live in Riviera Beach. Obviously, I'm a minority. I'm also part of the union, Local 728. So I understand what she's saying. I come to my city council meetings. I spoke to many of my council members up here. I'm huge on trying to put people back to work. The problem is, whenever I certify with the county, I'm an SBE, I've done all the paperwork, but yet it's very hard to try to get some of these jobs because I'm just being honest, I can't outbid some of the larger contractors. So I'm excited about the 1% sales tax, but is there anything that from a county, from a state, or from a local municipality to where a person like me, for an example, someone walking off the street, not knowing anything about electrical, could join a union and make $14 an hour, minimum wage, go through a 5-year apprenticeship, which I pay for. I pay for their health care. I pay for their pension. When they finish, they make $27.50 an hour. That's a great wage. You could change a person's way of life. But I can't do anything to help my community because it is very hard for me to try to get a job to bid on, so therefore I can come out to the community and hire somebody. What can you say or what can you do to help somebody out like me? Thank you.
Well, that's a great question. What we decide to do as a county is to, because some of these projects were like big projects where, so some of the big contractors can bid on these projects. So what we've done is like decouple them so in that way to make them smaller, so small contractors are able to bid. We even have small contracts that are under $200,000 where you don't even have to get bonding at the county, so in that way you can do some of these small projects. In my office we have Michael Carter, he's a GC, and so he understands the bonding, the contracting. And so what I would like to do is I want to meet with you as soon as we're done here. So in that way I can meet with staff so we can figure out exactly how we can help you and how we can help your business, so in that way you can employ more people in Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner has it.
From a local standpoint here in the city of Riviera Beach, one thing that, that I employ all of us, our council members here, and our procurement operators to do is to break up the project. It might take a little more time and it might take a little more work, but in order for the small guys to play and the other business opportunities are spread out more across the city of Riviera Beach and Palm Beach County, if you will, it's going to be just that, breaking up the projects. There are large projects that we have, and if we break that up into and create a bonding pool, it's one of the things that we need to do here locally, is to create a bonding pool so that our local contractors will be able to bond on some of those jobs. And as you said, if we give you some of the big jobs, then you can hire some of the local apprentices and train them in an effort that they can break into that industry as well. And that's what I'm hoping for, that we employ and force our procurement operator to break those projects up so that the local contractors and the smaller businesses can get those jobs, especially if we're talking about the 1% sales tax. What good will that do us if everybody come from everywhere else and get all the jobs?
Thank you. Dr. Robinson, can you crunch it into 30 seconds? Thank you.
Thank you. So the point I wanted to make, which is related but not directly connected is that many of us are in some phase of the process of our disparity studies so that we can have legally strong minority women business enterprise. And one of the things, again, through Unified that I've been working on is to make sure that these other governmental entities do like the school district did, which is to hire the best lawyer on the national scene to make sure that the program is as strong as possible, so it's legally defensible, because there'll be people coming after it. The other thing that I'm hoping to accomplish is to get a young African-American male lawyer, a specific one into Palm Beach County to work with all of us to make sure that we maximize the use of not only the small business but the MWBE, because there's many ways to break things down. The Commissioner Bernard and Councilwoman Hubbard have mentioned some of them, but there's a whole lot of things in terms of the tiering and the small business, and other people here know better than I do, but what I do know is how to hire the person who knows the most in the country. And I think that that's important so that we can make sure that we are legally strong, but as aggressive as the law would allow.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. All right, next question. We'll also make sure we hit this side of the room as well next. Sorry. Go ahead, sir. No, go ahead. No, sir, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Philip Muhammad. I'm the local representative of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. I heard someone say proper education. The minister said proper education promotes solving problems, not just making money. We have many master degree people, PhDs, but it only qualifies us to go and beg the white man for a job. We have not created anything for ourselves. So I had to write down some of what I wanted to say. We have a lot of things in our problems in our community. One of them is autism, and I'll get to that in a second. But this education is killing our children. It's killing their spirit, their drive, and their motivation. We need a new educational paradigm or system where all of our children are able to discover their interests, talents, and divine purpose in life. Now, my brother said the F word. Well, we raised hell about the N word. But the F word is more serious than the N word, because the F word causes you to lose your citizenship. You can't get a job, you can't go to school, you can't get a loan, you can't get housing. There's nothing. You are just here in America. You have lost your citizenship. It's in the Constitution.
Please.
Are you constitutional?
If you can just
scholars?
wrap up your question, sir, please.
Sir?
If you could just wrap up your question.
About 3 minutes, sir?
I did. I restarted. I didn't want the buzzer to go off on you.
We said 20 years we have been after this thing. What are we going to do? Another 20 years? When some of us will be in the grave and leave this madness to our children? We got to do better than this. It's time for us to pack our grip and get out of here. The Honorable Minister, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said you can have a school under a tree if you're teaching the arts and sciences of education. Our children need to know Black history, you see. So let's teach them real Black history.
Thank you so much, sir.
Timbuktu,
Okay.
Songhay, Mali.
Absolutely.
Mansa Musa. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
We'll move on to our next question.
Well, hold on. I think it's important to address that because that's very important. What he said was key. Matter of fact, he was spot on in reference to why do we send our children to schools? And that's something that you have to ponder. Because when I was in school, they told me we was going to school to be productive citizens. Well, if the community and the municipality and the district are not aligned, then who's going to make sure that bridge is there so that there can be some alignment when I walk from one institution to the next? So when we send our kids to school, and we're talking about Black children because the school has adversely affected those individuals more than anybody else. We have to be mindful of what type of philosophy is driving. I heard somebody talking about the impetus of activity. We need to know what is the impetus of the philosophy of education in this country. And we as a people really need to address this in a very astute way, because we have to create a level of sustainability so our children won't have to fight these same battles. And all of the tools are in place. We just have to pick them up and use them properly.
Yes, sir.
So we like to say from the Black Educators Caucus, we do not want to educate our children for servitude. We want to educate our children for power.
Thank you, sir.
Is this on? Okay. Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Tracy Ciucci. I'm a professor at Palm Beach State College, and I chair our service department for the community. And I just want to make a few comments. One was in reference to children that are being disenfranchised with a felony record. They also are ineligible for financial aid, and that causes them to not also to be able to get a job, but now they cannot get an education. So that's a huge issue. The second thing I want to mention to this young woman's point is when you mentioned about the daycare piece being so critical, we know that even people that make a moderate amount of wage, it's difficult for daycare. And one of the things, I'm on the task force tasked by the president of the college to be able to look at issues that we can do to address students and retention, in particular our students at most risk, which are traditionally our actual non-immigrant black students, in particular non-immigrant black male students, but looking at both of those and thinking of students in poverty that are working. And one of the things that I'm proposing is that we voucher daycare. We're looking at bus passes. We've opened, just recently we're opening next month, Panther's Closet, which is an initiative that's a thrift store on campus for $1 and everything goes back in. A food bank, a book exchange. So we're trying to really kind of give this big community picture about what the heck can we do to serve our community and get these students in the door, welcome everyone, and then get them out the door too. The last thing is I have a few students that wanted me to give a shout out, one of them in particular, a young man named Carl. They've started an organization at the college, it's called MEN, and it's particularly for minority student males. And it's for motivation, empowering, and nobility. And it's a network, because I notice a lot of times what young minority students are missing is a network of people to be able to have those connections, to call you to get that job, to stay together, that brotherhood. And that's what this organization works to do. And they do quite a few community events, professional development events, and types of things like that. It would be under Tay's heart as far as Suits for Seniors, that kind of vibe. But it really is a remarkable organization. So you know any young men coming to Palm Beach State College, reach out to me, Professor Tracy Ciucci. I can put them in touch with the MEN organization.
Thank you. Okay, and we have a couple questions. Yeah, Mr. Drake.
One of the things that I've not heard anybody talk about is a quick point I'd like to make. It received currency during the recent federal debates, and that is that you heard that was because a number of governors participated in that. And I wanted to bring this to the attention to the young fellows two young men who represent us in the state. The governors like to say, I've balanced the budget for 8 years. And I like to tell you that it's mandated that all state budgets be balanced. And if they balanced it, one of the things that I think our representatives should be aware of, how did you balance? If there were a monetary shortfall, where did you get the difference from to balance the budget? As your governor in the state of Florida did his first year, he took it out of education and gave somebody a tax cut. So we have to be aware of these things. Where do you get the money from when you're making a big hit on education?
Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to our next question. She's okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I want to take a moment to thank the city, the county, and the school board for their effort in putting together the disparity study. However, the concern that I raise as a small business owner and woman owner of a engineering consulting firm is the, I guess, the trickle-down effect of this disparity study within the staff. While your intentions might be noble in ensuring that some of these contracts get to the small businesses, women-owned businesses, minority businesses, how are you ensuring that your staff is actually doing what they need to do to make sure that when they go to certify the businesses, such as the CCNA certification, that they're not putting obstacles in place for small businesses like myself to make it arduous for us to obtain those certifications? Because when they block us from the opportunity to get those contracts. So how are you working to ensure that staff now implements what you are trying to put in place so that we get that economic opportunity?
I'm gonna start if that's okay. And I clearly can only speak for the city of West Palm Beach, but I can also speak as a minority-owned small business, as I am. And I will tell you that the commission has been incredibly vocal, every one of us at the city of West Palm Beach, as we're going through the process of creating how the businesses come forward, all of the different obstacles are being brought out so that we don't have them in place. We're talking about what they are. We're bringing them up and asking our procurement department to please work on these different issues to help draw them down. You're saying no, so I'm not hitting on exactly what it is that you're asking, but I will tell you that we've been very specific. There are 5 people on the commission, and each one of us has experience that we have brought to this and have asked, and I have been very specific with the procurement department to ask them not to make it an arduous event, because I've applied. The gentleman here who I think is gone now, the electrical contractor, it is an enormous task to get through the process. And not only that, there are some municipalities that actually force the small businesses to come back in and prove that they have paid their employees a certain dollar amount that they have decided is what that job is worth. And that makes it really difficult for a small business to compete. So we are working at it, each one of us, and I think that Commissioner Ryan has something that she'd like to add to this.
That we can make the policies, but if we don't have the staff in place to execute and understand what needs to be done. So I just wanted to say, from our perspective, we made a change to our budget in the last month. We've added 2 or 2.5 more staff to that department to help it work. And so there are a lot of issues that I don't know exactly what they are. I know it's arduous. As a women-owned business myself, it became easier not to participate in the process because it's so complicated. But I think we start with at least hiring the people. If we're really serious about doing the work, then we bring the people in internally that can help us do that work.
Thank you, Commissioner. Actually, we're gonna take one more question. We're gonna give everybody 1 minute to close out, and then for those who do have questions, we're gonna have like a one-on-one interaction and come up and actually speak to the representative personally. It's the same result. So we're gonna make this really quick. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Bram. I think everyone on here knows me, but I would like to thank the organizers for putting on this forum, which is much needed, addressing all aspects of the community, the schools, and
Keeping the mic, yeah. Speaking the mic.
everyone that is involved in this. I would like to take the time to thank Commissioner Mike Bernard for making a video of what is to be perceived for coming into our city. This sodium hydrochloric bleach company. Ms. Robertson touched on the critical elements in our education field here, the 4 schools here that would be impacted here, and we would just like to say thank you. Thank you for your great support, because we know education is the key. And all of these schools are in that vast hub of this anticipation. So I am inviting, along with the mayor, for our county and state officials to come out at 4:30. Mayor Masters is holding a rally over at the Stony Brook complex right next door. Representative Al Jaquette would be the moderator, and others would be there. On March the 1st, it is first stated that this council board would vote on that, and we are saying no. Education in all of our children, including Suncoast, one of the second national schools, are in this vast cone. Mayor McLeod Bethune School, the Head Starts here, West Riviera, Lincoln, but most of all, we as residents are impacted by this. So we say no to this travesty here. So we're asking for the entire community support, and we say no, and thank each and every one for putting on this great forum. I am an advocate for every child and every resident in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll start from left. We'll start with Mayor Albury, and we'll give everyone just a quick minute, and I mean, please, a quick minute to just have a closing statement, please.
Thank you so much. And again, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity of just being able to come and share some of the things that are going on, and just to encourage you to get involved in the process. The process works when we all engage the process and we get involved. So never hesitate. We are public service, and I remind all of my colleagues that we're here to serve, not to be served. So please feel free to approach us and let us know how and what we're doing. If we're messing up, let us know we're messing up. If we're doing well, encourage us to continue on that path. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
I just want to thank again the organizers, Brother Carl and Senator Powell, Representative Jaquette, Commissioner Mac Bernard, and all those who were behind the scenes putting this together. Again, I emphasize that this should just be a beginning. Certainly collaboration among the different governmental levels that are represented here, and certainly the dialogue with you as the citizens. And the next time, even though it might be on a Friday night, let's pack this room even more. Let's have standing room only. Thank you all again for taking your time.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. I don't want to belabor what everybody else has said, but just the number one point to take away is participation and engagement. Participation in the process and engagement with your public officials. Each of us have one voice, but coming together, representing what you want, only happens when you come out and make that the priority. So again, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to participating in the future.
Again, thank you all for inviting me to participate on this panel and having an opportunity to come out and speak with the residents. I think we all are kind of will possibly say the same thing, but one thing I want to add is that here at the City of Riviera Beach, we do have many advisory boards, and I encourage you, if you live in the City of Riviera Beach, that you become very active and engaged in the advisory boards so that you can be a voice for the community to help us make the decisions that need to be made. Also, we'll be doing several different activities involving education. Like I said before, it will have nothing but a trickle-down effect when it comes to decreasing our crime and trying to provide the local jobs for our residents. So please be on the lookout. Continue to follow us with our meetings. Please, we encourage you to come out for our meetings on Wednesday, first and third Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Our CRA is the second and fourth Wednesday at 6 p.m. as well. So we encourage you to come out. And again, thank you all so much for allowing me to be here to participate in the panel.
I too want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I want to thank the organizers for this meeting today. I want to encourage you as our guests and the residents of Riviera Beach to come out and hold us accountable. When we see you in the audience and there's an issue that's going to improve the quality of life for you, you need to come and bring your neighbor, because when we're looking you dead in your face, it's hard for us to deny you. So come out to the meetings and say, yes, we want this. This is going to improve the quality of life for us. When we vote on summer youth employment dollars, we need you out there to say, hey, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's going to be good to keep our children off the streets and put them to work. So those are the kind of things that we're working on for you. Bring your neighbors, come out and grab a card and speak up in favor of things that are going to impact the quality of life for you as a resident. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to say first, thank you all for coming out on a Friday night. And every elected official who has come tonight, those who are here and those who had to leave, thank you for coming out and giving part of your Friday for being here. Brother Carl, thank you for this idea and organizing and bringing elected officials together. And I'll close by saying this. There's a poem that goes, someone once said that it couldn't be done. But he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he'd be the one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a bit of a grin. On his face, if he worried, he hit it as he started to sing, and he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Thank you.
That's right. Right? Everything's impossible until it's done, right? And so, my motto is always, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And you heard all of these elected officials say the same thing. You have to show up. That father who was there with his daughter, you have to show up. Come to your city commission meetings. As Dr. Robinson said, show up to your school board meetings, because it is true that it's very difficult for elected officials to look at you in your eye while you're sitting in the meeting, standing there advocating for your community, for them to deny you. You have to play your participatory role. Don't just elect your elected officials and expect them to go off and do what you want. Make sure you show up. So I want to thank you, Brother Carl, for helping organize this. We all three was on his radio show. He had the idea to do this, and I want to thank all of our staff for putting this together. But more importantly, I want to thank you for taking your time to be here, because this is what it's about. When all of your elected officials come together to represent your needs, we get a lot more done. And I don't know how often this has been done. And as one of our commissioners say, I know this is a beginning. I don't know how often this has been done, but this is truly how we do it, because the same issues you're dealing with can be addressed on the city, the school board, the county, and on the state level. Let's get together, because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And now, we are at the table.
Yes.
I can't follow that, but someone who is like number 45, he's got a slogan that says, make America great again. And since we are celebrating Black History Month, I can tell you that we do not want to go back to making America great again. Because America became great on the backs of blacks. And with everything that's going on in terms of black males being imprisoned and everything for free labor, there is no way that we can ever go back to making America great. We need to move forward, and what we're doing here is moving forward. Thank you for coming.
Thank you to the organizers for choosing the City of Riviera Beach to host this event. We are pleased to have you in our house, and we welcome you at any time. There is a lot of work to be done. It is the very beginning and a great start. We need to have this dialogue because, it works from the state level, down county, down municipalities. And so that's why it's so important for us to vote in these local elections, because this is where the real work happens. This is where the real action takes place. So we want to be sure that as we convene as elected officials, that our radars are calibrated and that we are speaking to the same issues. So we look forward to meeting beyond this night. We look forward to having that seat at the table and that dialogue so that we can move forward going into our respective communities. So thank you. Have a great evening and a better weekend.
Thank you very much. I want to also thank everyone here for the camaraderie from both the audience and from my colleagues. I think what it shows is that we really want to make change, and we want to work with the public to do that. And I am going to go out on a limb here and say that I would like to have the city of West Palm Beach host a similar forum. I think what this does is it brings us to the people. And it doesn't always have to be at City Hall. It could be out on the street someplace as well, so that all the people feel real. Not everybody feels comfortable going to City Hall, but I feel very comfortable coming to you, and I'm certain that everybody up here feels the same. And that is how we reach out to a bigger population, and that's how we make change. So thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to just echo the same sentiments. I really want to thank Brother Carl. I know he's been toiling for a long time in this county, you know, in the district, and, you know, working as the subcommittee chair for public relations and communications. And, you know, that voice is what caught my attention and gave me the understanding that I was obligated. I had no choice in the matter because I have children. And it's my responsibility to lay a foundation and a path for them so they can create the life they deserve and not have to compromise their honor, their integrity, nor their morality in order to feel as if they are in a space that they can support themselves. Once again, everyone echoed this, but we have to be present. Our schools are community schools for a reason, because community has a voice and a place in them. But if we do not show up, if we're not present, then the progress is not going to be there. Because it's you all as a community that know and that can hold the schools to the veracity of the issues that they have. Keep that veracity. Do not allow anybody to water down the challenges that our children face moving from institution to institution. So I too am somewhat of a poet, and I like this poem, Live Your Creed. I'm not going to give it all to you, but it really does speak volume to me in our circle. So it says, I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I'd rather one would walk with me than just to show the way. The eyes are a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but an example is always clear. And we owe that to our children.
I like that.
Thank you. I want to thank Senator Powell for inviting me here this evening. And I want to quickly respond to the young lady that talked about the difficulties with the with getting business and the bureaucracy. And that is why I need to get these lawyers in here, because a whole lot of that bureaucracy is related to making sure the program is legally strong, but only informed attorneys. I need informed attorneys to tell staff, you can remove that, you can remove that, and you can remove that. That's part of the reason I want them here. So let me switch and say, I also thank you for coming out this evening. But let me say this as a mother, because I'm the mother of 3 sons. So, you know, statistically, the most likely to be thrown away, right? The hardest thing I've ever done with all of my blessings, including a wonderful husband, right, is to raise those 3 boys, right? And so I hope that we find ways as a community to support our parents, right? And I ask that, although I really would love to see everybody at the school board meetings, I think as a parent, our first responsibility is to our children, right? And so in my world, if we're talking about the academic world, I ask that you, one, you know, do your work at the kitchen table, which is where my children did their homework, right? Secondly, to do your work in the classroom in terms of dealing and having an interaction with the teacher so that you're working as a team with high expectations. So it's clear that, no, my baby's going to do well, like by any means necessary, right? 3, at the schoolhouse, whether that means interacting with the school administration or being part of the school advisory council. And then if you still got something to give after that, yeah, come to the school board meeting. But if you, I'm good with communicating by email and phone. I'm good with that, but I don't want to get confused, because it's actually easier to come to the school board meeting and complain than it is to raise your children, okay? I'm just saying, right? And so I just want to acknowledge that and to say that, in truth, as a community, that's what we got to get to. We've got to support our parents, because our children don't have the safety nets that some communities might have. And if we don't support our parents so that they can then be stronger in terms of high expectations and also, I'm gonna say it, boundaries for the children, then it just makes it harder, right? It just makes it harder. And this is not, I'm not excusing the school district, because I can list the flaws of the school district much better than you can, but I just want to be clear that the real work is in supporting the parents.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. And we have one more, Brother Carl.
Well, as we get out the way, and I want to thank everybody sincerely for stopping by, but I also want to ask your support and your love and your respect for, I deal with a group of people that you are voiceless and faceless. Many times they have already been destroyed by the system that are operating, and many times we don't get them into the conversation. So I want to, that's what I've been doing for 30 years, and I need your help, and I need your support, and I want to thank you again for coming out. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Brother Carl. Mayor Masters.
Thank you. Just quickly, first of all, I don't want to get Ezekiel, I don't want to get mixed up on what kind of immigrant am I? Non-immigrant. I don't want to get deported, so I need to make sure I'm clear on that. All right. For those of you who are after, okay, I don't want to.
Don't forget, we on the list.
We on the list, okay. Those of you that's going to be here the next 10 to 15 minutes, if you would, please go across the street to Wells. The midnight basketball will be starting at 9 p.m. and just your presence alone will encourage our young people and let them know how proud you are that they're off the streets and doing something. That's just a little catch. And out of that is going to become mentoring, jobs, all kinds of things. I do want to recognize Mrs. Mickens, one of our seniors who is about 80 years of age younger, and all of our seniors who are here tonight. Two quick announcements. One is I do not want our elected officials, and particularly, let me just say this, when I came here a few years after I got here, we had a powerful organization of black elected officials, and I'm hoping that we can revisit that because there's a lot of things that we can do and working with other elected officials as well. But I do want to announce, I hope that we don't take it lightly, the announcement that Ms. Bram gave us about no bleach on our block. If you don't want it in your neighborhood, you need to come because your neighborhood, your block could be next. Please come to the rally. Al Jaquette and is going to be the keynote speaker. Bobby Powell, who supports us 100% to say no on my block, and of course Matt, who made the both of them that made the video. But it's going to be March the 1st again, Wednesday, at right next door to Stony Brook. And it is just simple. We don't want this on our block, not 40,000 gallons of bleach in a residential area. Last but not least, March the 30th, which is the last Thursday in this month, the city of Riviera Beach will be hosting a very unusual job fair. It is only for returning citizens, which some call ex-felons. Returning citizens. You have to have a criminal record to get in the room, and you must be an employer that's committed to hiring returning citizens. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
It is 8:47. We just want to thank everybody for coming out. You guys get home safely, please. Have a great night.